The lecture for June 2025 is the Roscoe Lecture, which is the location it was given, called Next Steps on the Path. Now, this is not a 1, 2, 3 kind of steps on the path explanation. It's more of a direction involving many, many steps. The idea is that as you grow, and remember, this is Patrick Lecture 209, so this is 30 years in to the guide's teachings of the group, and yet he's still saying there's another phase, another series of steps to take. That what he's suggesting in this lecture is that the next steps involve confronting your negative intentionality, which for all the work people may have done, that's a big step to truly look at the negativity that you are holding within you, which is the premise of pathwork, that we're attached to it, that we're holding it. And we're holding it because we believe we need to. It's a life-death illusion. And so this may be buried deeper than we realize. And for all the other work that we may have done, we may not have tapped into the deepest part of our negative intentionality. That not only to reach in and confront that, to see it and confront it, but to take responsibility for it and on its effect in the world. So that in the next steps, to become more aware of how we create the reality around us. Now, this is a hard concept for a lot of people to take. I liken it to, you can hear about it and it seems ridiculous. You try it and you begin to understand what the meaning of the words are. The words do not replicate, they do not replace the actual experience. Experience is so multifaceted that all you can do is suggest to someone that they have an experience. The biggest example is you can talk about being in love, you can write about it, you can see it, but being in love is an experience, and it is unique to every human being. So that you can prep for it, but you can't know it till it's there. So as part of this next step, to see how you create your own misery and to deal with that, but to deal with it responsibly. And the trick here is to do so without misusing this information, this truth. So the fact that I have negative intentionality and I haven't completely cured it, which is true, does not mean I can't function. It does not mean I can't teach, that I can't help, that I can't be supportive, that I cannot love and love very fully. However, I still need to be aware that there is some negative intentionality and hopefully not allow it to damage or pollute the work that I want to do, the influence that I want to have. So the idea is not to beat myself up for the reality of my humanity, to not justify self-sabotage, to not avoid stepping up into the leadership that I can hold responsibly. It also includes realizing what you can't hold responsibly and not overreaching or allowing ambition to push you forward. There will be consequences if that happens. And if you do, you have to accept the consequences, the learning that results from overstepping, from overestimating. So here's an example of a skill, a technique that I have found useful in this process of continuing to see negative intentionality, continuing to work with it on a loving level. And that is that in the animal world, there are typically 3 defenses. You fight, you fly, they're hard to say. You fight, you freeze, or you flee. You have seen this in animal documentaries, you know about it. The animal feels it's in danger and it needs to either attack back or run away, or in some cases freeze, because the hope is that the predator will not be triggered by motion. So if you freeze, they'll ignore you. Now, humans have this, but they add an extra element, humans and primates, because of emotional development, social structure, and intelligence. And what we add is the person who came up with this acronym thing, what we come up with can be called fawn, as in little deers, where we fawn, where we attach, where we try to become part of the tribe that's attacking us, where we are subservient, lower our head but creep towards, where we collude. Basically, we're trying to absolve the danger by diminishing the perception of us versus them, so we become them. And this is about merging and giving up our values and attaching as a defense mechanism. So, how is this useful? In the past, I have found the concepts of reason, will, and emotion very, very useful for understanding that different people can be after these so-called same goals. They verbalize the same goals, but actually their version of that goal is different from mine. And I didn't understand why everybody couldn't get along and why communication was so difficult. Reason, Will, and Emotion, Patrick Lecture 43, explained to me that my idea of happiness includes, for instance, an orderliness. I'm more of a reason, will, reason type. For someone who's on the emotion spectrum, happiness involves connection. I find connection a little messy, so that's not my primary goal in finding happiness. Or perhaps I am happy enough with my connection, so I want more happiness and I would like more orderliness, whereas another person would like more connection. Perhaps you can see how we might be at conflict when we come up with solutions for more happiness. A will type might want more leadership or more acknowledgement, which would conflict with connection and might conflict with orderliness. So reason, will, and emotion explain to me why people can say the same words but mean entirely different things. So this next technique of fight, flight, freeze, and fawn is about detecting a change in strategy. Now, why would this be important? Someone can be in defense and they don't know it. They're fighting. You may not realize it because it's a slow process. The conversation builds to a certain point. But when someone detects that their argument, let's leave it at argument. When someone detects that their argument isn't working, they strategize and they may shift. I have found it really useful to look for that shift because it tells me that there's a defense going on. There's still going to be an attack or an attempt to avoid or an attempt to shift position and then freeze again. So to fight, another attack argument, to flee, another excuse or rationale, another freeze, another position to take and then holding still. And then the fawning is another way to hold on to me, to attempt to get me on their side. When I notice a shift in strategy, what I attempt to do, and please pardon the scientific or mathematical phrasing of this, is I attempt to, then I can triangulate. I can see where they were and see where they have shifted to, and then I wonder, what are they trying to protect? Not so I can attack it, and not so I can change it, but so I can understand it. Basically, we're all doing these defenses because we fear something. The question is, what do we fear? Now, what I'm suggesting is I developed this by observing others, And then the key thing here is that's not the point. The point is to apply it to yourself because we are invisible to ourselves. So you see these defensive tactic changes and you then apply it to yourself and see your own change in tactics. You do your own triangulation. What am I afraid of? By observing and seeing more deeply into others, what is their fear? We gain an understanding of humanity that we can then apply to ourselves. So this is a technique to attempt to confront negative intentionality to find out what it's arguing about and therefore what it's afraid of. What is its life-death struggle so that we can go deeper into our process. So thank you for listening. I hope you read the lecture, Pathwork Lecture 209, Next Steps on the Path, the Roscoe Lecture.